Hi, I'm Scott. This talk is about data, and it's about how companies like ours, Netcentric, are moving our business towards helping customers be able to deliver what the dream of digital channel engagement platforms have always been: personalization. This is a talk very much around data, how data is the center of driving personalization, but why it's been so difficult until now to build multi-channel and specifically web channel experiences that are very tuned to the customer, really truly deliver the concept of personalization, a personal experience, and the benefits that come from that in terms of engagement and loyalty and click-through, all sorts of fun experience-based measures that result when you feel that a website or a digital communication grabs you, preempts understanding what you need, whether that's information or product or service, simplifies that experience, remembers how it has resolved those experiences previously, and takes you forward. My experience with personalization dates back to 2001, where I was tasked with building with a team in Vancouver a website around an online brokerage. Online brokerage in 2001, in sort of the web 1.0, was quite a particular experience. In these days, websites were very, very static. If integrated with a data source at all, typically were integrated with a single data source, maybe uploaded manually. And the limited nature of personalization at that time was often related to a log-on or perhaps a choice of very limited set of dynamic information. On the other hand, a live website that resembles all of the aspects of a brokerage application, rich information about a particular user's financial status, interests in stocks, what they are willing to invest in or not, their current portfolio up to the minute, live stock values and price tickers. This level of personalization really didn't exist in very many web businesses back in these days. But nonetheless, we took a shot at trying to deliver this, and lucky for us, it came together. We managed to build a website that was, in fact, integrated with several key data sources and did provide reasonable customer experience for 2001. It provided a customer all of their current accounts, their brokerage information. It resembled and offered them interests in other types of equity investments that were related to their current portfolio, addressed them personally, and provided a generally pleasing experience for these early days of what was possible with the web. However, it did take a lot of time and a lot of engineering to figure out how to build such a site at scale with a level of information reliability that could service such a use case like a brokerage application. And at that time, we did simply have to integrate 3 separate data sources to provide the experiences that we were looking to deliver. And at that time, the integration of data was extremely manual and extremely complex. The bottom line is it took a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of technical cost and complexity to achieve it. The benefits in this use case were very much worthwhile. But for a company that wasn't pure e-commerce, wasn't explicitly looking to deliver web functionality and making a good deal of revenue from being able to provide that real-time personal experience, this would have been extremely prohibited for a typical website or e-commerce experience, or any kind of web experience at that point in time. Bring it forward 20 years, we're still trying to chase down the best formula for delivering personal experiences, websites or multi-channel experiences that understand what who a person is, be able to create a sense that a person is engaging on a basis of their personal or historical relationship, that is easy, a minimal number of clicks or engagement effort to get what I need, whether it's information I'm looking for or something to purchase or some other transaction that I'm trying to make. Time is important. A feeling of reliability is important. A feeling of safety is important. To do all of this is increasingly difficult because of the number of different data sources, the number of different ways customer data is represented in any particular organization, and the fact that marketing is typically at the end of the road in terms of receiving information from different business systems to blend it all and to use it to engage customers. Marketing has a hard enough time trying to understand the customer base, trying to develop products and understand and segment customers into their major needs, and to deliver information technology programs like web channel, email marketing automation, without being able to also deal with the complexities of complicated data integration, and much less real-time customer data integration that one needs when you're looking at creating a personal dynamic web channel or live digital channel experience, whether it's web on the mobile, web online, or live email. This can be typically represented, at least my favorite way is to represent it in terms of a type, going on a date with this web channel. How do you expect, or how would you like that channel to relate to you? In the old days of a kind of more static web, a very limited web experience or channel experience, we typically had a single topic or a single set of content per topic. So we create our information hierarchy in our web channel, or our email template, or our mobile app content structure, and we think of the topic and we think of a particular amount of content. The customers we work with are very involved with usually large-scale Adobe Experience Manager CMS platforms that help marketers create that content, but it's usually a single set of content, and it's not normally or by default associated with a particular customer. It's just content, and that's hard enough in a lot of ways to create sufficient content, engaging content, just in a generic way. However, in a personal website, what we're trying to do is create a wide flavor of content that relates to different customers in different ways to make it one step more engaging. But in the static web, it's very much about generic content, but you get the feeling that the website or the web channel is only telling me what they want to tell me, not what I want to know. And it makes me have to ask a lot of questions as opposed to them preempting and making me feel that, oh, they know me, they understand me. They could call me by the wrong name, or they treat me like a different kind of person than who I am by taking, let's say, bad guesses at the content creation process, and missing the mark on many different types of customers that would use their website. But ultimately, you come off with sort of a sense of being, self-centered, a bit boring website. It's not an exciting experience for me, the person that I am, and the reason that I'm trying to engage with you. The personal web or to achieve personalization in the digital channel is quite hard, because you need to really create that sense of intimacy, which is also a sense of risk. It requires that you really must collect a really reliable, very complete sense of a person, who they are, have they engaged with you throughout your customer service and your transaction systems, really understanding the current session context. How are they engaging with you right now via email, via customer service platform, via the web platform, via a mobile, via a tablet, multiple devices? What's going on with that person right now, and how can you make it easy? A personal website knows what you want, or at least can take a very educated, intelligent guess at it, perhaps allowing links to information or offers that are immediately relevant to a situation to be placed primarily in the user interface. It should not preempt too much intimacy. It should understand that a certain level of intimacy is interesting, but to cross a line, to guess in a potentially dangerous way, is something we should avoid. So you need enough information to avoid those missteps. And it expects you to remember, we all dislike having to fill, again, a form over and over every time we visit a website when we know we've given that information before. It's like your person that you're dating asking you the same question each time, having to respond with the same answer. You really start to feel that they're not listening to you, and the value of that relationship is not looking good. And most importantly, you have a really high expectation that there are no mistakes, that the person understands your relationship and what you talk about is accurate, what you ask for will be fulfilled. And if you can achieve all of these things in a personal way, the benefits are numerous. But to get them wrong is also very dangerous. So here's a couple examples. I like an Instagram campaign where there was a presumption of a marriage, basically a marriage status, because of a browsing history of certain products or click and open rate on certain types of potential emails. Maybe Dana here was simply looking for a friend or whatnot, but the emotional impact of assuming that she's married, perhaps if she'd like to be, and isn't, is somehow damaging or instantly damaging. Evie, also the sense of too much intimacy is also prevalent when you're looking at cross-channel. If you're not aware of all of the different channels that a customer has visited, or identifying that a customer, even if they haven't authenticated on a device, is related to a campaign or a purchase that they've made, and resending. We all understand, if we've looked up a particular product in Amazon and then we start seeing those ads everywhere, that can feel a little bit invasive. We want to be aware of, as much as we can, of trying to understand who a person is on different devices, even if they don't identify, and being able to craft that experience in such a way that we're not repeating or we're not presuming too many things, that we're accurately working with them to understand what they want. The benefits of doing all of this right is significant. Personal dynamic websites are significantly more engaging. You spend more than twice the time in a rich personal environment than you would in a generic environment. The conversion rates of recommended products or use cases within a website that are immediately relevant, less than 1 or 2 clicks away, are significantly higher than sites that are built without that. And ultimately, there's a financial justification for investing in this, which is significantly higher loyalty, repurchase patterns, and return visits, particularly chained between email, mobile, and web continuous campaigns, multi-touch campaigns, is significantly higher and ultimately generates a significant amount of revenue in most cases. But it's very difficult to achieve this with the data that we have. It's all about being able to aggregate a good amount of data across business systems, and to do so in real time, and as well push some of that data back from that customer experience reliably back into those systems. But a marketer, when faced with trying to come up with or deliver a project, is tasked with not only coming up with a technology choice and a creative choice, but also a data choice. How do I find the data that I need? How do I find data that is up to date, that is accurate? How do I find data from all of the different business systems that I need, where customer may be related in different ways by different identifiers? And how can I make sure that the experience that I'm trying to offer the customer can be successfully transacted with the back office systems of my business or fulfillment department, and give a customer a status of that process in real time as I expect it to be. A digital business or a digitally transformed business process provides all of these things, like any good digital business that we're working with these days does today, like Netflix or Amazon. Very little is done offline. The entire business process, from engaging with what I want, transacting it, getting a status, and conducting most of my processes, are all done via a digital channel. And they do this through a very well integrated customer data environment. In terms of what a good customer data environment looks like, very much, as we can see on the left side, a company's customer information set is scattered amongst many, many different systems. And these systems are also tied often in point-to-point solutions with the experience, with the web platform in one way, with a web analytics platform in another, or perhaps with the mobile analytics application. Each of these digital channel applications must talk to a variety of different systems in order to receive personal information. And that can be incredibly expensive and trouble-prone. But what we're trying to do, as we can see in the middle, is concretely identify at any point in time two things about a person. One is the person, who they are, their set of current attributes today, the things that describe me. For example, Scott, I live near Geneva in Switzerland. I am male. I sometimes wear glasses a percentage of the time and sometimes don't. I like Nike shoes. So these are things that I do that do describe me, the attributes of me today. But those attributes are often modified by the things that I do. I visit websites. I click or I don't click on emails. I click on certain links and I don't click on others. Maybe I visit a shop. Maybe I make a call to the customer service department. Maybe I send a message in a Facebook group. Maybe I send a complaint email. So all of these are actions that in turn modify or potentially modify who I am. Maybe I'm spending lots of money and I move up a status tier in a loyalty program. So all of these experiences of what I'm doing are all time-based activities. In data warehouse terms, we call them facts, that they're activities that modify who I am. And it's the balance of who I am, the attribute-based, and what I'm doing, the time-based attributes, that define the experience of who I am. And if I can take all of that information and make it accessible to my digital channel activities, I can achieve very deep and very comprehensive personalization. But I need to do it in a single way, a single platform that understands all of the different identities I might be across different systems, all of the different customer groups that I might fall into in a consolidated way, all of the different devices I might engage digitally with my company, and all of the different events or activities that I might engage in across all of the different business systems of my business. And it's easy to imagine that if I was trying to do this in a fragmented way, with a website trying to do all of this, with a mobile app trying to do all of this, it would be very difficult or very expensive. So the game today is to try to figure out, how do we consolidate data in real time for our customer experience platforms in such a way that all of the different customer experience applications can read from one clear and consolidated data source. If we do this, then all of the fun work and marketing platform or marketing technology platforms and their customer experiences that they deliver can be much more focused on creativity, because we're not spending time and money and effort trying to build point-to-point integrations or worry about minimizing our use cases because we're potentially worried about the impacts of data quality problems. We can feel very confident to deliver deep personal experiences across a wide range of use cases and be focused on only a single reliable data source in order to do so. What Adobe has delivered in the last couple of years, from my opinion, has been a very impressive initial solution for integrated customer data platform. Here at Netcentric, we deal primarily with the Adobe applications and have taken great interest in following Adobe's journey over the last number of years as they've acquired a number of different products across the digital marketing or marketing technology landscape. Each of these products had a different way of dealing with a person or an engagement. The data model of each of these different products was different, and a lot of our consulting and project delivery has to do with trying to integrate behind the scenes a lot of the Adobe products. Adobe not only has answered that challenge by creating a strong single data source for all of the Adobe Experience Cloud products, but also has taken that way further than a lot of us imagined by creating a full feature-rich customer data platform that actually allows me to integrate not only all of the data that I'm working with in terms of the digital channel experience, the websites people are visiting and all of the analytics, all of the personalized choices, all of the engagement with emails and engagement with apps. We are able to access all of that rich digital information, as well as all of the offline information that a company is managing, typically in a data warehouse format or perhaps just in a point-to-point system. We can now combine the online and offline data in one place online, creating rules to manage all that data, to ensure its safety, and to bring it closer and closer to real-time availability, such that these rich personal experiences can be delivered reliably now across all of a company's digital marketing assets. The Adobe Experience Platform is in fact delivered. We're having a lot of fun working with it, dealing with proof of concepts. A lot of what the beauty of this platform is allowing us to do is around data matching and mix and merge, identifying customer identities across a number of different systems and different data sources. We'll do a video that goes deeper into the Adobe Experience Platform technology. But for now, we'd just like to share with you our enthusiasm for the features that it does offer in this area. The principal beauty, or say the low-hanging use case of what the Experience Platform helps us manage is this, what Adobe calls the stitching or dynamic profile stitching. Each data set that you bring to the table or mix within the blender of the Adobe Experience Platform identifies or potentially identifies a customer in a different way. It allows tools, data services to allow us to figure out the so-called golden record, the ability to match in the most predictable way the same person across all of their different identifiers and devices. The Adobe terminology for this is called the identity graph. And as you can see here, there's a multitude of different systems in this one example that I'm working with, a CRM system, the Adobe Target application, a mobile device, an eShop platform, a marketing automation platform, Adobe Campaign, Adobe Analytics in terms of the web engagement. And each of these different systems, whether it be it an Adobe product or an offline product, are all representing a customer in a different way. And what the Experience Platform is allowing me to do is build a set of rules, clearly defined rules, to merge all of these different identifiers into a single representation of a profile with a master ID that Adobe calls the ECID. This matching process with all of the supporting tool sets that it offers is a fantastic achievement and very, very useful. It significantly reduces the cost and complexity of being able to offer personal experiences, reliable personal offer experiences, very significantly. An example of this is, here I have 3 different platforms that are feeding my unified profile. And I find that the email has changed on all 3 of them. One of my systems is the CRM system, so I have a refresh perhaps once a day or perhaps in real time to the Adobe Experience Cloud data source for the CRM platform. I have another platform that is in this case, a booking system. And finally, I have an email marketing or marketing orchestration application, Adobe Campaign. Perhaps it's has a landing page where people are modifying their preferences. But I have a potential email change across these 3 different systems. How does the Experience Platform allow me to define a rule such that the most accurate email is retained and is associated with me if the email is potentially different across these 3 different systems? There are 2 key ways that it allows you to define this rule. One is based on timestamps. The earliest record change, or in this case, the latest record change, wins. So being able to identify the point in time of a change across all of the different systems is key. And in this case, the latest change was the booking system. So in this case, the rule that I could create is that the booking system's email address shall be the newest updated email address. The other way is by system priority. So if there is a system that is always considered the most accurate, no matter if there's conflicting information, or at least immediately conflicting information, we can define a rule that for this particular piece of data, the winning system is always a particular system. And in this case, I can say, well, the CRM system is always the winner. So I can define a rule that ensures that despite it not being the first or the last change, it will be the change that wins within that daily period. So being able to define rules like this in a fairly untechnical way, a methodology that defines rules very much on a business level, logical level, and removing it, doing it one place and removing it from low-level scripts or from a variety of different tools, significantly simplifies the process of creating the unified profile and therefore enabling deep personalization based on that profile. In order to achieve a single view of a person and their activities, we need to be able to define that person and their activities in a consolidated way with a specific kind of language, a representative language that is mapped to each of the incoming systems' data model. One data model to rule them all, so to speak. And Adobe has called their syntax the XDM, Experience Data Model language. is a fairly technical representation of what it looks like under the hood for my colleagues, but in our case, what we want to do is define what things mean in as detailed of a way as possible. And if we can do that, it allows data from different systems to blend together and to mean the same thing. So, how do you achieve this customer unified profile? The current state of most systems, as we've seen before, is that to achieve personalization within the digital channel, customers need to retrieve information to target customers based on attributes that they may have scattered amongst a number of different business systems. Each of these business systems likely has its own data model, its own way of identifying customers, its own time-based system for how new data is compared to other events. There could be a lot of duplication of customer data or poor data quality in the source system, or particularly when it's mixed with another system. And of course, when we're working in marketing, we need the most reliable single attribute for a particular marketing campaign. Therefore, we must deduplicate, we must clean, and we must leverage a clean single data model. If we don't use a single platform to achieve this, or a single language, as we said before with XDM, the end result often is a marketing technology stack that's very expensive and hard to change and maintain. There likely are many APIs pointing to different systems built by different people in different ways. There is often, therefore, a fear of, is the data that we are using the most recent? Is it accurate enough? Do we have the right permissions to use it? Has it been cleaned? Is it duplicated? Which ultimately blocks a lot of creative marketing ideas that are dependent on this data. Therefore, a lot of these marketing campaigns that are data-centric are often deprioritized. Or when there is a campaign that absolutely does require a particular piece of information, there's often a very long lead time and a need to work with a number of different internal teams and potentially external vendors to retrieve that piece of information from a particular system and manually merge it for the use and rationale for digital channel marketing. Ultimately, many different applications, a lot of expense, and very slow ability to change and evolve. Multiple integration points, multiple languages. Ultimately, customer marketing data environment is one where many applications are speaking many different languages, and it requires a significant amount of time to clean up this data, process this data manually, and that's not where we're wanting to be for real-time personalization. Where we want to be is, in the dream world, a single application that a marketer can understand, or folks joining the company that are used to modeling data, working with data, can use a single application to manage the data sourcing from all of the dependent source systems that marketing might use in order to achieve this attribute and time-based representation for the purposes of the marketing channels. One system that allows the data sourcing, aggregation, deduplication, prediction, and breakdown into individual identities, a single set of segments that are used across all channels, identification of which identity and which devices they're using so that communications are targeted and formatted for particular devices that are relevant for that person, and a single representation of events, no matter which business system, online or offline, that event has transpired. To the central marketing platform, it's all a single set of potential events that that customer can do in their customer experience. Adobe solves this problem through XDM, and without going into too many technical details, XDM modeling approach is very similar to many approaches for representing data with fields and attributes very flexibly, but it has a number of different improvements over many languages that exist today. Some of my favorites are, number one, XDM has an ambition to have a number of pre-built data models for specific industries that partners like Netcentric or Adobe are pre-creating that can launch a project without having to define an entire data model from scratch. Another fun aspect is that there's a number of pre-built rich attribute types. So when you're building attributes for the purposes of digital marketing, you're often having to define special fields for things like email address and defining rules for what an email address looks like in terms of formatting and validation and masking. IBAN numbers, booking codes, all of these real-world data types that have certain information structures. XDM will have pre-formatted definitions for these that will save a lot of time and really improve data quality for a lot of our customers that adopt it. It's also got a very interesting way to flexibly associate data with each other. So it allows us to cross between product and customer and event very easily and very flexibly for a number of different use cases. And mostly, I start to see it as a really safe bet for our customers. When we look at embarking on defining a marketing data model, we want that it has an alignment and a way of preserving itself into the future, a safe bet to be able to adopt and be compatible with other industry frameworks that are represented in other applications, and future-proofing as well. To do all of this, XDM ultimately is focused on providing one way to allow personalization in a single language, to allow segmentation, to allow prediction of attributes or of potential next events or historical events that haven't happened yet, and activation of customer events in back-end systems, all with a single clean language, irrespective of what the source system looks like. Adobe's solution for this, as we've mentioned, is the Adobe Experience Platform toolset. We'll go into a series of webinars where we look at how we leverage this technology and step-by-step building up an environment for doing aligned digital marketing. But the ability to do both data sourcing, deduplication, modeling, and data management in a single application, talking to the entire span of online and offline marketing customer data sets for a particular customer, and making all of that information available to both all of the Adobe products as well as any third-party application that we'd like, is incredibly powerful, time-saving, and enabling many, many use cases that were not perceived to be feasible in earlier days. The last point I really enjoy about the power of the CDP is its ability, or its rather design with data governance from the ground up. This is a super important topic these days, especially when we're considering blending data from a number of different systems and potentially providing an incredibly clear, very highly identifiable data set about individual customers. The need to define policies on what that data is. Is it personal? Does it align to GDPR policies? Does it align to customer permissioning that we've built into the customer data layer? And be able to control this on a field-by-field basis. This is incredibly important, and today, without a single platform to do that, it's very, very difficult, because each platform must, each business system must deal with these policies in different ways. The Customer Experience Platform allows every data source that's brought into it to be identified by various attributes, tags. Is this particular field considered a personally identifiable attribute, and to what degree? Maybe relating to a particular level of policy. Is it useful or able to be used for a limited time? Does it expire? Is it related to a particular permission that a customer has provided? Is it data sets that is only able to be accessed and analyzed by certain roles within the organization? Or can it be accessed from different geographies or by people in different geographies? All of this is incredibly granular and built into the customer data platform by design, and is a fantastic time saver and a guarantee of control over these highly regulated events. The platform, the customer experience platform, is built with a number of different modules that we'll look at in a dedicated webinar. But ultimately, it does allow the full range of features to provide a de-risked environment for bringing an aligned customer data set from a customer data premise to an online cloud environment, mixing it together and providing the risk assurance that's required to leverage that in digital marketing. So what does all this mean for doing a project, and how does it impact a company like Netcentric? How would you engage in a project? How does it change the way we do projects and the types of people that we'd work with? Essentially, we're starting to see this as working in two different compatible teams. One team will really start to focus on defining that customer data model, engaging with business users on a campaign-centric basis, identifying the customer marketing data model in a high level, what it's needed, what data sets are needed for particular campaigns now and in the future, and starting to develop the target data model. Whereas the second team is one of our more traditional teams working with the variety of Adobe products, AEM, Campaign, Target, to integrate and deploy feature sets in an iterative fashion, but this time leveraging and achieving some of these higher end requirements based on a customer data model, a single customer data model, and a single way to access that varying customer data set. The people that you work with, or do we need to have a new role? We start to believe that the same people that are working with you today, that are marketing consultants or requirements engineers, will stretch and grow to also learn and adopt the skills to define with you the customer data requirements, to be able to consult you and build your policy models for GDPR, to start to discuss analytics and predictive modeling capabilities, and potentially develop and start to iterate predictive models. As well as get into data landscaping and data integration discussions and design with you, and working with your existing teams who might already be doing similar activities for data warehousing or other purposes. All of these now are centrally core to doing a project, and our existing teams that are product specialists and digital marketing experience specialists will have these skills to be able to take this next step into data alignment. The front-end teams that you work with that build the customer experience, these guys are now really focusing on leveraging how to build dynamic front-end experiences in multiple channels, be that dynamic web environments, dynamic email templates, varying access points for mobile apps to represent different aligned offer data in a mobile application, as well as mobile app frameworks. And finally, the backenders of our team are really becoming versed in sourcing that data, working with the AEP to build graphing rules, to build integrations with existing customer offline data environments, mapping data to existing data sources and databases, building those models, and making sure that the cohesive XDM-defined data environment is running and ready for the front end and consulting teams to build upon. So to close this discussion on data-centric projects and where we're going in the future, as I was preparing this presentation, I received an email from one of my online shops that I like to frequent for buying some shoes. And it really impressed me and underscored exactly why I'm really interested in this area. The email was around dress shoes. I've been in the market for some dress shoes lately. And I clicked through to that email, landed on the page, pre-authenticated because I've been there before and allow a long cookie time. And what it did was it completely impressed me with the level of personalization that it achieved. Firstly, hi Scott. It knew who I was. My intimacy level with this site was very, I would say, detailed, deep. I'm in love with this site. I've been there. I've transacted a lot of business. I'm highly engaged. I visit probably on a weekly basis, if not monthly. I have 2 years of sales history. So I think they would be willing to take risks with me to show how much information they have about me, and so far they manage it in a very good way. They have a good customer preference center in case I'd like to refine my permissioning, but they respect all of the best practices in terms of engaging with me, and I feel very comfortable. So I allow them to, I have a positive reaction to the level of personalization that I see. Hi Scott, it's an authenticated tribute. It's a beautiful Wednesday for a run before sunset. It indeed was Wednesday, and it was around 5:30 p.m. So it's demonstrating session awareness. What really impressed me, though, was going for a run. I had browsed running shoes frequently, but I'd never purchased any. So clearly they had an ability to flag my potential interest in this category of product before I had purchased. It was clearly a very good model predicting my next best action, because indeed I pretty much do need a new pair of running shoes. And then it went even further by stimulating a real sense of intimacy and convincing me, pushing me towards the transaction or the behavior that they wanted me to have, which was of course buy the shoes, by quoting really local details. 252 other runners in Geneva bought some Nike Airflows. So really identifying information from a transaction system related to my current location to further convince me in a completely automated personal way that it would be a great choice for me, a very safe choice, and induce me to transact. So finally, this is a summary. It gave me an authenticated tribute. It had real-time context personalizations in terms of both time of day, even a weather API is likely used because referring to beautiful, it was a sunny day, as well as transactional details around the number of previous purchasers and location. It was a fantastic case study. They're not Adobe clients yet, but I had to find out more about them because this was such a great use case. And they did admit that the complexity of building this was very, very high. It takes them a long time to change anything, and they were very interested in what a customer data platform approach might offer them for the future. Finally, our requirements and the way we'll approach adapting them will evolve significantly. We'll move from simple requirements that are for representing a particular product or product category in a certain way on a web channel with imaging and rendering requirements to much more detailed requirements around, render it this way when there's a variety of different input data conditions, render this particular aspect, in this case example, a customer score based on this incoming data field in real time, vary the representation based on this other field from a loyalty system, maybe not really related to the customer scoring system. So blending the representation of any particular piece of content from multiple systems. And make sure that you have that same blend of real-time data available in multiple channels, both on the web, potentially in email, potentially available in customer service as well as on the mobile app. All that must pull from a single aligned data source to achieve that. Another requirement might move from representing basic personalization. If I'm authenticated, show me this representation, but if I'm not, show me this fallback generic representation. This is a frequent requirement that's already starting to move towards personalization, but isn't nearly where we could be. Where we'd like to be is, if we're not authenticated, leverage first-person cookie and device co-op information to take the best guess based on session information, what would be the best representation of any particular web layout that might be most impactful for that customer, time of day, geographic location, and building that into a requirement. Varying information, particularly offer content in emails, dynamic content for emails or web channel or mobile channel, based on real-time changing conditions in the customer profile, their credit score, their loyalty status, whether they've visited a store, whether they've made a customer service call. And finally, a lot of effort is often spent on particularly not only targeting people, but removing people or limiting our interaction for various reasons with certain groups. For example, a requirement in marketing automation to remove people based on a preference list, suppression list. In the future, we want to leverage a CDP to be able to do much more automatic, real-time, and much more sensitive real-time suppression lists based on things like social media, sentiment, reducing contact volume during periods where we can identify they may not be statistically receptive to offers, who might be unwilling to react based on similar preferences observed elsewhere, or perhaps in this case maybe they have died, so we want to make sure that we've removed them from all targeting and being very, very sensitive to personal conditions like passing away or marriage breakups or whatnot that could be detected within the data sets that we have. Ultimately, Netcentric tries to build our customer experience systems with Adobe products and other related products in a blueprinting approach. And historically, our blueprint looked like this, where we have clearly acknowledged back-end data sets and the services that sit on them with a varying type of an API gateway and integration approach. But you can see here that data, while part of the overall blueprint, was just one piece. Where we're moving this year and in the future is really finally recognizing that data is, in fact, the center of the digital customer experience, enabled by Adobe's move with the customer data platform. The Adobe Experience Platform fundamentally changes the way we see how to build a customer data, marketing data environment. Now we build with an aligned data set in mind from the beginning. And we build services with an assumption of native integration with that rich data set as a starting point. It may be that a customer has a different customer data platform or a customer data warehouse, but we want to present the future-oriented ambition and possibilities based on a CDP in the very beginning, and then fit what is possible into that picture with what the project is considering for initial requirements. But the reality of what the CDP or what a CDP can do is absolutely forefront in our minds. The way data moves throughout the organization and really focusing on data capture, data processing, deduplication, and data governance is now going to be very much part of the way we engage with projects, and making sure that data foundation is well built and well designed. And with that, I'd like to say thanks very much for listening. We are reaching a point where the marketing technology and projects like ours is really moving to the next level, and we very much look forward to engaging with you further. My name's Scott Simmer. If I can answer any questions about the Adobe Experience Platform, data centricity, or any type of marketing architecture question, myself or my colleagues would love to engage. Thanks very much.